And now for something completely different.
A few moments later.
The most outstanding feature about television is the tremendous variety of...
All the answers to my questions about my parents are in there.
The bathrooms? That book you gave me opened my eyes to your inner beauty.
It is acceptable.
Hey guys, it's your slightly insane Dragonslayer here, and how are you today? Well, for me, my day started off quite well until I watched these two radioactive hazards of the Velma show at the same time, and if you want to know just how much the insanity has been dialed up, well...
It's over 9,000! What, 9,000?!
Also, I remember blacking out while covering the previous episode, but I'm guessing it wasn't a big deal. Now, before we begin, I need to tell you guys that I'll try to make this video as short as possible, but that it might be long due to the fact that I'm covering all 2 episodes actually. Also, I want to ask you to leave your answer for this question in the comments section. From 1 to 9,000, how narcissistic in your opinion has Velma become in these 2 episodes? With that, let's dive into the 5th circle of hell, shall we? So we begin with Velma giving another monologue about how she feels terrible that Norville isn't responding to her 1,000 texts immediately, like a good simp would, and tells us that if he doesn't respond to them in time, she will eventually have so many psychotic hallucinations that she might just die from them.
No way! Yes way!
She also reassures us that she's still gay for Daphne by talking about her naughty inhibitions, and then she asks her dad to drive her to school, but he tells her he can't do it because he's gotta clean the house before going back to the hospital to pick up her stepmom after she finishes her postpartum photo shoot with the nursing staff?
Useless.
Velma then gets mad at her dad for leaving her behind, but he tells her not to worry because she'll be at the marching band sleepover tonight, which by her facial expression must be worse than eating a Carolina Reaper chip with no spice tolerance.
A demon of the ancient world. His foe is beyond any other. Run!
We then see a bunch of band nerds talking a bunch of random crap. Velma asks them if they see Norville, to which they say they haven't, and the principal says the sheriff has to make an announcement where he says that they learned someone somewhere was being intolerant, which I'll admit was one of the few times this show has made me laugh because of how apeshit the students react after hearing these news.
Fine, okay, I'll give you that one.
Anyway, the creepy mayor tells us that the reason for this announcement is to mention that all the cops assigned as the security detail for the hot girls collectively resigned out of protest because these teenage e-thoughts were sexually harassing them constantly.
Oh, that's nasty.
As a result of this, the sheriff announces that a citywide curfew will be put into immediate effect and that anyone caught outside after curfew will be immediately arrested, but everyone except Velma is extremely disappointed that the band sleepover and other school events have been cancelled due to this curfew.
Okay.
We then cut to dumb Daphne sneaking out of her house to go back to the abandoned mine, and as usual, her danger junkie personality takes over as she tears down the sign to go in, but she then immediately gets scared of the bats and rats that are coming out of the mine and ends up getting snatched by some mysterious person.
Idiot.
Meanwhile, Velma is asking Fred if he's seen Norville because she needs his help to help her investigate something, and then we're shown how far Fred has fallen, sadly.
And as if this isn't enough, I will also win your heart by proving I am a helpful ally, sister.
What have they done to you?
Velma then sort of feels grateful that Fred's a male feminist now, but only becomes interested in what he's saying when he mentions that he found some clues in his house about his house belonging to Dr. Edna Perdue. She then looks up her name to find out that she was a neurologist that died in the local insane asylum due to conducting mad scientist experiments.
Very interesting.
She then mentions that she needs to find Norville to look for more clues until Fred lets out the bomb that Norville is probably hanging out with his new girlfriend, which makes her go ballistic.
You deserve that.
Velma then barges in while Norville and his girlfriend Gigi are kissing and insults her right away because I guess she's supposed to be an unattractive art kid.
Shut the f up.
Anyway, we find out that Norville traded one narcissistic master for another, which completely defeats the whole purpose of not being a simp. And we then move on to Velma and Fred going by themselves to the Historical Society building to find out more about this mad scientist doctor, and unfortunately there are no documents left of her because Velma's mom took all the files when she last visited that library.
Oh no! Anyway.
Velma then has another psychotic breakdown and tells Fred to tell her something to stop the hallucination, but all Fred can think of is the same old argument about the gender and race pay gap.
Oh, for f***'s sake.
Velma then gets resurrected by a defibrillator, and she and Fred end up going to the diner where Norville and Gigi are at?
That's suspicious. That's suspicious like shit. That's suspicious.
She then tells Fred how much of a worthless man he is, and she complains about how hard it is to accept Norville's new relationship, but then she has this bright idea to invite those animals she calls her bandmates to her house for the band sleepover as a way to coerce Norville into helping her?
Fool of a took.
Look, let me summarize this whole chain of events so you don't go insane. The bandmates show up as usual, but the second Velma mentions not to break any stuff, they start doing so. She then has a terrible flute competition with Gigi in order to gain control back of Norville that, as a former flutist, hurt my ears a lot. And she also finds out while begging Gigi to lend her Norville that the mad scientist she is looking for is actually Norville's grandmother.
God, you're pathetic.
While this revelation is going on, the band people in Velma's house start acting like wild animals due to having no food for their pills, and Fred ends up bringing pizzas that end up getting run over by a variety of vehicles while making fun of pizzas from Domino's and Detroit.
That was childish, man.
Velma then sees these animals get so irritated due to lack of food that she thinks of throwing a salad at these unhealthy eaters is going to fix the problem, which it absolutely does not.
You're not very bright, are you?
No, I'm not. I would like to be, but I'm not.
They then decide to go to the diner to quickly dumpster dive for food to calm the band members, and Norville feels compelled to not leave unless he leaves an IOU note on the back door of the diner because he says we should support all small businesses no matter what, which is a correct statement, but probably not one that should be said while you're trying to sneak back home past curfew.
I don't even care anymore.
Velma then decides to help the rest of the gang escape by doing this to distract the sheriff, which ends up backfiring on her so well.
I'm out past curfew, and I think the movie Serpico is boring. What are you gonna do about that?
Gotcha. You're goddamn right.
She then ends up spending the night in jail with Norville's parents, and she then comes back to her house to find it completely spotless because Norville threatened the band members with violence if they didn't do so.
God damn.
Oh, right, I forgot to mention what happened to Daphne after she got snatched into the cave, so let me mention that real quick. To make it short, her parents are thieves that dress up in Captain Caveman costumes, and when Daphne wants to find out more about them, they just tell her to research the Crystal Cove gang and vanish.
Asshole!
She then starts researching about a gang formed after the mine shut down, and she ends up finding a news article that mentions the fact that she was the baby her moms rescued when they brought the gang to justice. Now, while I just realized that the concept of a gang living in an underground underworld that robs the hypocritical surface dwellers is a direct ripoff of Demolition Man, Daphne decides to make this conclusion.
Genetically, I'm a villain. No wonder I'm attracted to a girl who looks like a little henchman.
She then tries to go to Velma's house for help, but due to the chaos occurring in her home, Velma is unable to help her out, and she then tries to find out information from her moms, but both seem to give her the same scripted answers no matter what questions she asks about her past, which raise her suspicions.
90% of the time, I have no idea what the f I'm talking about.
Having enough of everyone ignoring her, Daphne decides to go down the sewers herself to acquire answers directly from her biological parents, and before we dive at full speed to episode 6, I want to ask the remaining survivors of the Velma attacks to please hit that whole like, share, subscribe, and notification bell stuff, and watch the remainder of this video since it helps your boy get more attention from the YouTube overlords. Now, let's keep diving further into this dumpster fire, shall we? Alright, so we start with Velma monologuing about how parents are so controlling towards their children and how they try to keep secrets from them in the false attempt at protecting them from harm, which then loops around to her saying that her dad is the crappiest parent of them all.
Guess what? You're a bitch.
We then see her trying to ask her dad to take her to school early so she can talk to the principal about the mad scientist lady, and her dad says that he can't do that because he's taking a paternity leave with her stepmom, but we find out that the reason he's actually doing this is because her stepmom convinced him to do it in order so that the baby doesn't end up growing up as messed up as Velma?
Emotional damage! damage!
We then see her walking to school until Fred pulls up to ask her if she wants a ride by saying that it's nice in the car and that the driver has cool stories about how he survived the Khmer Rouge Communist Party during the Cambodian genocide.
Hey, yo, what the
What? Do you need any more evidence of how terrible a person Mindy Kaling and the writers of the show are?
I've seen enough. Shut it down.
Anyway, Fred's dad immediately rejects his proposal unless she is his selection for their hunt, and asserts to him that inner beauty is a myth, which I won't lie made me laugh quite a bit since they drive off right after he said that while leaving Velma in the street, and then this happens to her.
Well, at least my relationship with my father isn't that bad.
Just the three of us.
She then makes it to school to talk to the principal about her mom while Norville and Gigi are smooching right in front of him, and then we hear Gigi mention to Norville to not let Velma push him around, but then we see her push Norville around after he asks her how soon she needs her pants mended.
Dumbass.
We then get a backstory of Norville's mad scientist grandma that goes like this. Norville's grandma was a scientific genius who discovered a way of keeping the brain alive inside the body, but her research was shunned because of course she was a woman.
Oh, come on!
However, this successful experiment of hers attracted the attention of an army general who acquired her services in order to transplant the brains of their best agents into the bodies of the younger generation of the time in order to drive the public perception towards a pro-war mentality, because the traditional methods of hypnosis they were using during the Vietnam War weren't working due to finger snapping being the trigger that turns off the effects.
You are stupid.
Moving on, we find out that the name of this program was called the Special Covert Operations Brain Initiative, or Scooby, and Velma then says the classic line of, "What did Scooby do?" To which the audience at this point already knows is to swap people's brain to create the perfect spy.
You don't say. Huh?
We also find out that the program eventually failed and lost funding due to Norville's grandma not presenting enough results, which caused her to turn insane and eventually brick up the wall to the entrance of the stairwell leading to her lab, but she also hid her journals with the Historical Society so no one could ever recreate her work, and was then admitted into an insane asylum afterwards.
Mystery.
Velma then makes the connection that her mom went missing soon after acquiring the journals and that it all might be connected to the killer because he removed the brains of the other girls. But when the principal shows Velma a box her mother left her that could provide further clues for her, she immediately blacks out the second the principal opens the box.
You serious?
Velma is then resurrected by an adrenaline shot, but then blacks out again the second time the principal starts to talk about her mom, and is then resurrected once again by a second adrenaline shot that would kill any normal human from overdose, which shows us right away that Velma is truly a demon from hell. When we find out that the source of Velma's hallucinations comes from both her self-guilt about her mom's disappearance, the fact that her father doesn't believe or love her that much, and that she has chronic abandonment issues, well, it leads me to postulate that she has daddy issues, and that
you're the one that's f***ed up.
Norville then says to Velma that she should try convincing her dad that her mom isn't dead, but she tells him that she already tried and that she failed to convince him that way, and when she asks him if there's any way to solve daddy issues, Norville says that he can't imagine a world where he has problems with his dad, to which Velma says this reply.
Even though he's the one who basically taught you to be a beta?
We then see the show degrade Norville's dad further by making him have his son help him lift some heavy stuff to help his mom's old boyfriend move, which completely demolishes Norville's alpha assertions, and we then see Velma being snatched by her dad to go have lunch at a diner they used to go to that's now a strip club diner.
I have several questions.
They then have a wonderful father-daughter talk where they talk shit about her stepmom being a controlling bitch, and then the mood is broken once Velma mentions her mom to her dad, which causes him to walk out to take a call, but Fred then shows up with his dad where he starts to complain to her that because of her, his son's perception of manly reality has been ruined, and walks out of the strip club with Fred.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
Out of spite and desire to get her dad's attention, Velma does something only very disgusting people will enjoy while the rest of us mentally suffer.
Oh, yeah. Keep keep it all on.
Show me nothing, man.
Wow, I never thought I would say this, but an adult animation has forced me and everyone else watching to see a child pole dance in front of creepy adults for their viewing pleasure. And where the hell is Chris Hansen when you need him?
Hey, how are you? I'm good. Good. Why don't you have a seat right on that stool, please?
The show then ignores this big red flag behavior and tries to provide a more upbeat tone by showing Velma and her dad doing a lot of father-daughter stuff as a sign that their relationship is improving. We get a Captain and Cuddler Easter egg, and she ends up passing out drunk in the beach from being given too much alcohol by her dad.
Arrest him! Arrest him!
We then find out through Fred and a terrible diss joke aimed at Bhagwan Rajneesh that her dad broke his paternity leave promise and is back to working at his firm, and out of anger she barges into his office to find out that her dad only wanted to spend time with her so that he could avoid her stepmom and get some work done at his firm.
Yes, you're probably right, Brian. Such scum.
He then lies to Velma by saying that he only came to the office because he's having an affair with his secretary, which doesn't end well, and Velma barges out of the office in disgust. She then barges into the principal's office demanding to see the box. Norville then acts like a baby version of Andrew Tate, which will backfire 4 minutes later, and Velma finds out the big reveal that her mom went to Fred's house because the mad scientist lab was hidden there.
Disappointed!
She then goes to Fred's house. Fred contemplates murdering his father with the Eastern European stripper, but ends up getting conned by her. He goes with Velma to open up the secret lab door, which ends up completely falling on them while not killing them, and they end up getting saved by Velma's dad while he apologizes to her for not being a good parent for most of her life.
Okay, well, that's random.
We then see them walking down the stairs to find a note that says Jinkies, and Velma ends up having another hallucination that almost kills her until her dad tells her that he truly believes that her mom was kidnapped, which causes the ghost of her psychosis to suddenly explode out of existence, and apparently the reason her dad believes her this time is because the note with the word Jinkies was written in her mom's handwriting.
Excuse me, what?
Okay, so with that, we're finally... God damn it, I forgot about Daphne's side quest, so let me cover it really quick.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Look, I don't want to waste either of our valuable time, so let me just summarize it like this. She meets her biological parents, they trick her into almost becoming an accessory to robbery while lying that her cop mom stole her from them. We find out that Daphne has red hair because her mom smoked a lot during pregnancy. Her dad uses the gun to make her into an escape plan hostage until he and his gang get caught by her cop moms. Her biological mom escapes capture but eventually gets killed by the mysterious murderer, and we find out that her cop moms are slightly better human beings than most of the characters in this show, albeit a little stupid.
Wow. No comment.
With that, I've saved you exactly 6 minutes and 56 seconds of your lives that I will never get back myself, but at the end of the day, I do this to entertain and warn you guys about these kinds of terrible shows, so I'll pass that off as doing my service to mankind.
His name will live forever.
Now, you'll have to excuse me, but I have an emergency appointment with 20 exorcists that told me that I need to see them immediately because I apparently have a legion of demons residing in both of my eyes that need to be exorcised due to prolonged exposure to this hellish hazard. So I sincerely wish you all a wonderful day and Namarie.